Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier podcast for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV.
And I'm Joe Healy with DevilsDigest.com.
All right, Joe. The Devils are down the hill. Camp Tonizona is in the rear view mirror. Week 3 of fall camp is underway. We're just a couple weeks away from kickoff. It's starting to get real.
Things are very real. You reach those checkpoints where it's like, all right, we just got to get to this point, and then things are moving along. You got to get fall camp started. That happened a few weeks ago. Get up and down to Camp T. That happened this past weekend. Like you were saying, we are just outside 2 weeks to the opener. That's nothing. We can wait 2 weeks. We can make this happen for sure. So it is a lot of anticipation for sure. A lot of folks curious how this year is going to unfold. Can ASU keep it at a high level? Obviously, been talking about that all off season. We'll continue to talk about it until things kick off and as the season progresses. So things are in action right now. It's real now and about to get even realer with each passing day.
All right, so we're going to be running down what happened during week 2 of fall camp, some of the standout stars, some of the position battles, both known and one in particular that's kind of just popped up in recent days. We're also going to be talking to linebacker Zyrus Fiaseu, wide receiver Jaren Hamilton, two of the outstanding performers so far in fall camp. But before we start things off, let's run down some news. Most notably, the AP poll is out. And for the first time in a few years, and for the first time even many more years, ASU has a lofty ranking. They coming in at number 11.
Yeah, for the first time since 2021, ASU is ranked in the preseason AP poll. You got to go back all the way to 1998 to find a time that ASU was ranked higher in the preseason AP poll, as they are at number 11 this year. Now, obviously, that comparison to 1998 immediately throws a lot of people into a spiral because high expectations resulted, sadly, in a losing season that particular year. So, there were a few different reactions. And, as an aside, I think that's as good as ASU could have expected. You look at the teams ahead of them. I don't know that you'd put them ahead of too many of them. So I really think that number 11 spot is just about as good as it gets. There were some questions going on leading up to the release of that poll because depending on who you follow or pay attention to in the college sports landscape, there are some folks that are, high on ASU as a potential playoff repeat contender. There are some folks that think that they're really going to disappoint folks. So again, to finish number 11 is maybe higher than a lot of folks may have predicted there. As far as the reactions from the Sun Devil fan base, pleasantly surprised. I'll say that I am in their reactions because I figured there would be a little bit more gloom and doom. The battered fan syndrome would show its horrible head. But it looks like fans are somewhat accepting success, somewhat.
I mean, if you want to be a good program, having to deal with rankings is something you got to get used to. So yeah, I was thinking, that they've been seeming to be taking this pill pretty well. I kind of thought like 13-ish, anywhere from 10 to 15, I thought would have been kind of fair. I thought that the AP poll might come in a little lower than the coaches poll last week, which is also number 11. But yeah, and I think as you talked about on Twitter, that the path to ASU to quickly become a top 10 team is there, right? Perhaps even right off the bat in week 1. And, if they were able to run the course of the non-con, Baylor was just on the outside looking in. 3 other Big 12 teams were in the rankings. The top 3 in the receiving votes were also from the Big 12. So a lot of parity as we knew in the conference, but the ASU is at the top of that heap.
Yeah, and of course, ASU is the highest ranked team in those polls in the Big 12. So that kind of gives you the indication that there are a lot of people across the country who are involved in these sort of polls that think that ASU has a legitimate shot of defending its Big 12 crown. A lot of time and games to be played until we really figure that out. But so far, the early returns are good on a nationwide scale, and that ASU is just on some positive momentum, and it's up to the players and the coaches to keep that going.
All right. So also some news on the football and other sports front. The Hall of Fame class of 2025 is in. Now, we knew a couple of the names a little bit ago. Of course, the 1975 ASU football team is going to be collectively honored as well. But now the full list of honorees for this upcoming class has been released. Joe, who is getting the great honors?
Yeah, so this is a huge thing, and this is something that I pay a lot of attention to on an annual basis. It's just pretty much the highest level of recognition that any Sun Devil student athlete can really receive as far as what ASU does. So you mentioned that in the past, the recent months, there were announcements that the entire 1975 team would be inducted into the Hall of Fame. If you all don't know, obviously it's the 50th anniversary. Hopefully, you have the math skills to get to that point. But ASU that year finished number 2, I believe, in the AP poll. I think there were some national championship accolades on some smaller polls that they were given. Finished undefeated to beat Nebraska in the Fiesta Bowl on the foot of a field goal kick by Dan Cush himself. Just a legendary team. It's kind of interesting because there are 8 athletes and 2 coaches who were a part of that 1975 team that are already in ASU Sports Hall of Fame. So they're kind of double dipping there in a sense. I think that they've had some other instances where teams or groups have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. I believe like track groups that have been in there, that sort of thing. So relay, track runners. So this is unique for football. And of course, as you mentioned, also Jeff Ayers, or Jeff Pendergraph, as we knew him when he played at Arizona State, being inducted as well. Great selection there from ASU's basketball program. Some others that are inducted: Paul Asmuth from men's swimming, Ryan Bader from wrestling, MMA. I know a lot of y'all know who he is. He's getting inducted into ASU's Hall of Fame. Gary Donnelly from men's tennis, Dallas Escobedo softball, an incredible pitcher for ASU's softball program. Callie Farquharson from soccer, and then athletic trainer Troy Young will join the Hall of Distinction. So you have obviously some highly qualified candidates there who are going to be remembered in Sun Devil lore forever. They get that ASU immortality by being inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame. I have a great deal of respect and honor for the 1975 team, so I will put a little pause on my put Keith Poole in the Hall of Fame for right now. That will resume next year.
All right, so obviously some amazing and very worthy honorees. With so many classic memories over many sports over many years. And speaking of classic Sun Devil memories, Joe, something's really cool has happened. No, of course, listeners of the show know that we are about to embark upon season 3 of Speak of the Devils on Arizona's Family Sports Network. In fact, if you're listening to this, weekly episodes resume this Thursday, August 14th. Something very cool that was happening on the network in the lead up to the season opener against NAU. There's 17 amazing games from ASU's history in the Pac-10 and 12 that we've got the rights to. Now, what folks can do is head over to azfamily.com/classic, and you can vote for the top 10 games that you want to see. Now, starting the week of the 25th of August, the top 5 games that receive the most votes will air in their entirety. Now, Joe, we're talking about, like, this starts off the 1987 Rose Bowl all the way up to the stunning game where ASU took down UCLA in 2023, and so many games in between, the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020 as well. Covering a lot of the recent history of their Pac-10 and Pac-12 years. So head over to azfamily.com/classic. Cast your votes, and then tune into Arizona's Family Sports Network starting the week of August 25th.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. Where else can you get this sort of content other than our good brother Jedi ASU, right? So this is a great opportunity to vote on those games that are going to be shown. It's going to be a great, fun time, reliving some incredible old memories and seeing those players that you revere, and even just some of the announcers. Like, it's cool to watch old highlights or old games. It's like, man, I remember listening to this announcing pair. Maybe that's in my blood because, of course, the family tradition there, but it always brings back great memories to watch these sort of games, because I'm sure these are all going to be just fond memories. I don't think we're going to have any like Oregon State 2014s out there on this list. That would be a really rough way to go.
I have seen the list. Everybody will be happy no matter the selections, I can guarantee.
That makes me happy.
And there are a few territorial cup matchups as well for those. I mean, you couldn't have a classic game without a couple of entries there. All right, Joe. Let's run down what happened in week 2 of fall camp, as we do every week, heading up into the opener. Starting off at quarterback. Now, again, no big drama here, like last year. Now, I will say that over the past few days, I don't think Sam's been playing the sharpest. There's been some interceptions, some low throws, some high throws. But he is just kind of a guy that plays better on game day than in practice. And Kenny was even asked about this recently after a practice, and he said that there's a kind of the nature of practices. They're obviously not sacking the quarterback. He's not running as much as he would in a game situation. Just kind of in the the natural flow and constraints of practice, and he's throwing some balls that perhaps, after what would have been a sack whistle, he's taking a shot downfield. Now, that's not to say that he's not making some amazing Heisman type throws. He had a throw earlier in practice today that was probably, I thought, his best play of fall camp. He's flush to his left, kind of, of course, a right hand quarterback, tough throw, kind of turns and crosses body, 50-yard bomb downfield, hits Jaren Hamilton in stride, touchdown. So I don't think that we're in any remote way, shape, or form saying, well, let's start worrying about Sam. But to be perfectly blunt, he's had his sharpest run of practices so far. But I think offense is still in pretty good hands, and also they're playing a really, really good defense. To the point where probably playing against other teams is going to be feeling a lot easier for them on game day. Run down the depth chart. Jeff Sims still being pretty good. I don't say as he hasn't been as sharp in week 2 as he was in week 1. And as we talked about, really the kind of only question I think it's been settled now at QB3. It looks like it's going to be Christian Hunt.
Yeah, a big question for this team as a whole is making sure Sam Levitt avoids that sophomore slump. He's certainly a much more known commodity now than he was this time last year and throughout the 2024 season before ASU really started to catch fire down there at the end. So teams know a lot about him, a lot of film to work with. He needs to adjust as well, and you certainly have confidence in him and Kenny Dillingham, Marcus Arroyo to do the right things in that regard. So, he's a gamer. He's a bit of a risk taker and a gambler. You like that out of a quarterback. You want to be smart with those sort of decisions. So, again, confident that he and the staff know exactly what they need to do in order to keep him at the top of his game.
All right, running backs in week 2, still kind of status quo a little bit. I think Kyson is still ahead of the pack, although it's not necessarily a night and day separation. We've been talking for a while now. Is this the year of the by committee? Kenny's even said as much. And the workload, I mean, all 3 backs haven't seen work with the first team. There's been a lot of rotation sometimes where we're seeing multiple backs in a set. But I think right now Kyson's still the guy getting the work most often. He's looked the most impressive. For those folks who are at the Camp T scrimmage, know that the offense had a pretty rough day or pretty tough day, but he looked pretty good, and especially in that one drive where the offense was backed up deep in their zone, started off with like a 30-yard run, a couple of strong runs there. He's looking like the total package. Raleek Brown has been really good. They've been using him as the kick and punt returner, a guy that perhaps maybe is not going to get as much of the touches from scrimmage as Kyson and Kanye Udo, but still a very dangerous guy. Udo continues to be really impressive in terms of looking at the guy in spring to where the guy that we're seeing now, quicker, more agile, has a better burst. And just looking a little bit further down the depth chart, it looks like Demarius Man Robinson might be making a run for that 4th spot. Now, that might not be a spot where he's going to be a fixture on game days this year. As a true freshman, he might redshirt, but he looks like he's getting in there more and more often. He saw some first team reps a little bit today. Grayson Rigdon, the true freshman, a guy that another figures to be a redshirt, also looking really good. Made a nice diving catch downfield as well, so a guy can do a little bit of everything. But it's kind of what we talked about from last week with Jordan Ham. Top 3 backs are still looking really impressive.
Kanye Udo starting to make me look smart, and that takes some work because he was my breakout possibility for fall camp. Kind of figured that it takes some acclimation when you get here in the spring, but those months between spring ball and fall camp are very critical, and if you use them the right way, they can really fire out of the gates for fall camp. So he's looking like someone that should be a contributor, and he's got the resume to do so. Kyson Brown, we know that the pressure's on him. He's got some of the biggest shoes in all of college football to fill this year. And you can't hear anyone, especially on the national level, talk about Arizona State football for 2025 without talking about how in the world are the Sun Devils going to replace Cam Scatterbo, and can they be successful without him? And that obviously is, a call out of Kyson Brown, or at least an action item for him as far as what he can do to silence those sort of critics or doubters or people that just have questions about whether he or ASU as a whole can replace those shoes. And by and large, it seems like that group is doing some pretty impressive things. It looks like that 2 to 3 man group is going to be a strong combination throughout the season with some versatility among what they do. So it's great to see that. And again, we'll see if it's that by committee approach. I'm starting to kind of, that's the new, is this the year of the tight end thing? So I might believe it when I see it, but at least we're seeing a lot more traces of it now than we have in recent years.
All right, a wide receiver, kind of what we saw from week one. I think there's a clear top four: Jordan Tyson, Jalen Moss in the slot, Malik McLean on the outside. But Jaren Hamilton, been raving about him since like the third week of spring ball to now. The deep threat every practice or so. So a deep ball catch, a touchdown. Today you mentioned he had the touchdown from on that 50-yard bomb from Sam. Also some intermediate stuff, some toe tap catches and really good body control. He's still a redshirt freshman, so I think he's got a huge bright future there in Tempe. I think that top four, and since Hamilton has been running, it's kind of the number two at Z behind Jordan. Of course, Jordan was held out of the scrimmage, so that's given Jaren some more work. But we've also seen them move these guys around, some versatility within those top four of Jordan being able to play kick inside and play some slot, and that allows Hamilton to play out there they've been doing some creative stuff. I don't want to give away too much schematically to the world from what we've seen there, but Marcus Arroyo must be having a lot of fun just with all these chess pieces in terms of the running backs and their versatility, the talent at wide receiver. We'll get to the tight ends in a second, but those top four I think are going to be consider assuming good health, they're going to be the clear guys. I think Harry Hassman and Zechariah Sample have really kind of stepped up a little bit in week two. Derek Eusebio has been a frequent target of Jeff Sims with the second team, but Harry Hassman, the true freshman, continuing to be really impressive. And I think Zechariah Sample and Charlie Regal made a comment at Camp Tonizona that I thought was really revealing. Is that he's perhaps had a little bit of confidence, struggles on the offensive side of the ball, but in playing some special teams that gave him some more confidence. And now we've seen a kind of a new rejuvenated Zechariah Sample, obviously a guy who runs 23 miles per hour, lightning quick. And now we're starting to see him now see those consistent second team reps, whereas he had been kind of in that three range for basically for the majority of his career to this point.
Yeah, man. Jaren Hamilton was really catching a lot of headlines pretty much all of camp so far. And my goodness, would Sun Devil fans be so incredibly pleased if he can essentially just slide into that role that Xavier Guillory had, at least as the main downfield threat. Remember how Xavier just really came on over the course of last season, and pretty much to the point where he became ASU's top receiver once Jordan Tyson was injured at the late stage of the year. So if ASU can still have that downfield bang going on, and maybe it's Hamilton doing it instead of X, that would be great.
All right, tight end. As Kenny mentioned to the media, so that we can discuss this publicly, Shimon Mateer dealing a little bit, nothing serious. As he said, is kind of some concussion protocol stuff. So losing a all Big 12 caliber tight end could be damaging to an offense unless you have the depth that ASU has. And I think that's really just allowed the other tight ends in that room to really shine. Kamari Anderson, I just continue to be really high on his prospects. He just brings an explosiveness to this offense and to that position room that I think is really kind of a difference maker. Cameron Harpole, a.k.a. the Harpinator for Kenny Dillingham. Although I have heard his family members maybe prefer Harpoon. I don't know. Some good options there. But Kenny raved about what Harpole has done or did over the offseason, reshape his body in the best condition of his life. He's really looked like a totally different player. Of course, AJ Ia touchdown in the scrimmage as well. And he's been getting, I think, early fall camp. We maybe saw some freshman moments, but I think over the last few days, week or so, he's really kind of starting to dial in a little bit more, making some really impressive, tough physical catches over the middle. But I think Kamari Anderson and crew are holding things down pretty well in Mateer's absence.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that I'm so high on that position group, and it doesn't take a genius to feel that way, even without their all-conference starting tight end. This is still a very strong group, and Mateer, as you mentioned, not expected to be out too terribly long, so it should be a fully stocked group once we get to the season opener. So just a lot of threats there. Really eager to see how Kamari Anderson does when the lights are on, and a guy like AJ Ia, even if he maybe is kind of like the third or even fourth tight end over the course of the season, you just kind of have this suspicion that he'll be in for some highlight reel moments. You know what I mean? And I think that could be a real fun thing to watch, and obviously watch him progress for the future.
All right, Joe, this is the one thing I alluded to earlier, the position battle that perhaps we did not expect to see coming in, and that's at center. Ben Coleman had some snapping issues. Of course, he was terrific last year at left guard. They moved him to center over the course of the offseason. Had some snapping issues in spring. Those have persisted. Now, this isn't a thing where he all of a sudden has like the yips, but it is a noticeable enough issue that over the last couple days, Monday and Tuesday of this week, we have seen Ben take first team reps at his old position at left guard. Wade Helton, the Iowa State transfer, has come in and replaced him there. Now, ASU's offensive line has had some personnel issues going on over the last few days. Nothing serious, nothing long term. But they've had to play with some of the twos at tackle and Champ Westbrook, who has been looking really good. I think a future cornerstone. Jalen Clem has been playing both left and right tackle. But just talking about center, that's an interesting position battle. We'll see how that actually transpires. Kenny was asked about it, and he said that we're just trying to find our best five. And he said he was very clear that our best five involves Ben somewhere, whether it could be center, it could be left guard. Now, of course, with Ben sliding to left guard, that means that Jameta Obibo, the Texas State transfer, I thought has had a pretty solid spring or fall camp, is now running with the twos. In fact, today he was playing some right guard as well, showing some versatility. But it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how the center position and kind of the dominoes therein ultimately kind of fall over the next few days and week, because this is not something you want to be necessarily tinkering with in the just a couple of days before you got to go to battle against NAU.
Yeah, this has quickly become, whether you consider it like a position battle or just a position to watch, it's quickly become the most significant one across the entire team, really, in relatively short order. It's something that is just a really underrated aspect of the job. You think about offensive linemen and you just basically think about, all right, you make sure you're doing, that your footwork and your handwork and your eyes are in the right places and that your assignment sound and that sort of thing. But just the basic function, basic is a very, very significant understatement. The basic function of snapping the ball, that is something that is not just as easy as putting your hand in the dirt, putting on a football and handing the ball to the quarterback, So that's obviously an incredibly crucial part of any offense, and especially the Sun Devil offense as well. So that is something that is going to be put under the microscope over these last couple of weeks. And then, especially in that opener when, you're playing an FCS team, a very good one in NAU, also a nationally ranked team at their level. That's one of those things that even if, I know we're looking far ahead at this point, but even if ASU were to win that game handily, but if there's still snapping issues, then there's going to be a concern. So looking for that to get cleaned up over the next couple of weeks.
All right, so switching over to the defensive line, Justin Watley is absolutely on fire. He has really turned it up. He's, of course, slimmed down to 260, pretty much playing edge full time, and he is just really, really impressive. And of course, the depth across the entire defensive line has been impressive. Of course, you're bringing back Clayton Smith, Elijah O'Neal, Prince Dorba, but Justin Watley for me has been like the true standout. Kenny Dillingham praised the entire defensive line repeatedly in recent days, just really kind of citing their offseason transformations. Of course, Clayton Smith's a guy who put on 20 pounds of muscle over working with Coach Joe and is faster. We've seen Jacob Ngika slim down to be a little bit more effective. CJ Fight, the guy that Kenny frequently hails as the strongest guy on the team, and number two is Watley, and just to see him kind of really dialed in his final year has been really impressive. And we've talked at length about the defense needs to improve the pass rush, and man, if we're seeing anything like we have seen from this group, especially Justin Watley through in week 2 over the course of the season, well, that job's going to get accomplished.
Yeah, we've talked about it ad nauseum, and we'll keep talking about it until it changes, and that is improving the pass rush, because as I believe we've talked about, there's a bit of a paradigm shift in the Big 12. You think about last year, and there were all those good running backs across the conference. So, pretty much week in, week out, for the most part, you had to really, hone in on stopping the run. This year, it's tilted to where you have just a list of talented quarterbacks. That's not to say there aren't good running backs in this conference, because there certainly are. But you look at, these top 25 lists of quarterbacks in the country, and all these things that you see, the social media fodder and preseason magazine fodder that you see every year. The Big 12 has a lot of representation on those sort of lists, and naturally ASU is very near the top, if not at the top, with Sam Levitt. So it's going to be huge to be able to get to the quarterback, and Watley, someone that, man, he was a playmaker last year, some huge turnovers that he forced, things like that. So looking for a little bit more of that and then some in year 2 for him at ASU.
So moving on to linebacker, Joe, you mentioned that Kanye is making your prognostications look good. I think I might have mine with Jordan Crook of just in terms of buying some stock early on him, and he is just superstar in the making. He has just looked so impressive, kind of like what Watley's been doing up front. Jordan Crook has been doing on a daily basis in fall camp, and that's not to say that Keyshawn Elliott, who's in also in kind of the best shape of his life, and those two guys, of course, are heading in year two in the system. You know, top guy off the bench, Zyrus Fiaseu, who's been probably the loudest hitter in fall camp. All three of them been looking really good, but I think Crook is just in line. This it could be a situation where if he's not on the all conference team by the end of the year, I will be very surprised. I will say that the kind of the week two breakout though, a true freshman Isaiah Iosefa has been really excellent. Some big time plays at Camp Tonazona, including a safety at one point, a couple of big time plays so far since they came back down the hill as well, getting also showing some pass rush ability. So I think obviously we know that this is a veteran heavy group with that top three, and the Martell Hughes is continuing to be continuing his ascent. But some of the younger backers are looking pretty good for AJ Cooper.
Yeah, I mean that's a deep group. I know that you're high on them to say the least. We've heard Brian Ward. This might be a talking point, that we'll go over through the show. I've heard him say that this is, as good as, or if not the best defense that he's ever been responsible for in many years coaching. So it's really encouraging and very exciting to hear, not necessarily new names in terms of people that Sun Devil fans don't know who they are, but it's not always the CJ Fights and the Xavier Alfords and the Ghost Rousers. When you're talking about guys like Crook, talking about guys like Wadley, and you add them and compound their talents with those teammates of theirs who had star-studded seasons last year, that's a real appealing thing. That's where you create some dynamic depth, and basically 1 through 11, no matter who's on the field for the defense, and even beyond that 11, going deep at a lot of positions, going to be a violent, effective order for ASU.
All right, so moving to corner, pretty much I think kind of the status quo. You know what you got in Keith and Javen as your starters. They're looking really good. Rodney Bimage, Nyland Green, I think have pretty much at this point locked down the two deep there. The one notable aspect of week two, I think Joseph Smith, the freshman at the Houston area, he's looked really good. He flashed a little bit in spring, especially near the end, but I thought he's looking more and more comfortable, making some loud hits, making some impressive plays, both in team 7-on-7, even some stuff in the one-on-ones as well. A good physical corner as well. So kind of the status quo there, but stock up on Joseph Smith.
Yeah, and you feel great about that group if you compare it to last year to this year, because now you've got a whole season of experience under the belt of Abney and Javen Robinson. And those are guys that we talked about a lot, grew an incredible amount over the course of the season last year. So they finished on a very high note. And then you got Bimage, who, had 1 year in the system, got some run in games, maintained that red shirt. He's got that confidence going. Nyland Green is someone who was like a 4 or 5 star prospect out of high school, depending on which service that you look through. So, ASU, to have those 4 guys that you're comfortable going out there, that 2 deep, all things considered, compared to last year's 2 deep, that is a remarkable upgrade, both in terms of the people that are there and also the experience from the starters and even some of the reserves. So, again, that's a position group that I think could be pretty strong. Between the starters and the depth, this should be as good as ASU's had its whole cornerback room being quite a bit.
All right, so moving on to safety to close out the defense now. Ghost Rouser and Xavier Alford, as Kenny mentioned, missed some time out there on the field. Nothing major. Both of them have in fact, kind of returned and been participating. But I think the byproduct there through the course of week two was that it allowed others to shine. And Joe Boogie Wilson is just a ball hawk. He had yesterday's practice had 2 picks. Of course, he had the pick of Sam Levitt in the first drive in the scrimmage at Camp Tonazona. He looks really good. I think he is solidified his spot there. Montana Warren. Now we knew he was going to be battling Kendrick Breedlove for that nickel spot. Now with the kind of the need to with Alford and Rouser missing some time, he's gone back and played some more safety on the back line and looked pretty good. I mean, he might be right up there with Zyrus in terms of the most loud hits in fall camp. I mean, he's been a kind of a headhunter. No targeting. I would say no targeting penalties. They have refs at practice. Very clear there. But a really violent hitter. Has looked really good there. But while Chris Johnson, the second, I think is a young future star there. Boogie Wilson has been outstanding, and I think he's going to be a guy that he's obviously I don't think he's going to be in line to start this year. He's a redshirt sophomore, so could be a big guy in the years to come. But I think this is going to be a guy who sees some plenty of time this season.
Yeah, I mean, he was a sought-after transfer. Had a solid season at Washington State last year. A lot of big-time programs wanted him out of the transfer portal. So whether that's somebody that is, more of a depth contributor and a starter for the future, or if he just happens to keep that climb going and works his way somehow, I don't know if he could play nickel and get into that situation. I don't necessarily see him or anybody leapfrogging Alfred or Rouser unless there's an injury. No matter what, when these players that are in the second string and beyond create some difficult decisions for the coaches in a positive way, I got to find a way to get this guy on the field more. That's where the whole team wins.
Yeah, and should say by kind of as a result of that, Kendrick Breedlove, it looks like he's pretty much going to be locking down that nickel spot with Warren seeing there. I think I really have been impressed with Warren and his versatility. I could see him being a guy that you just kind of plug and play with put him in at nickel, put him at boundary safety, put him at field safety, just wherever you need him around around the back end of that defense. Closing things out with special teams, Joe. Jesus Gomez still pretty good. He had a 55-yarder at the county scrimmage, would have been made it from high 60s or so. Granted, elevation aided, but still, there's no the ball just sounds different. That's the status quo I mentioned earlier. Raleek is getting the first stab at both kick and punt return, and so really the one thing here is just the punter battle. I think both punters, Matt McKenzie and Kenyon Floyd, have looked really good, and it could be a situation where both see time. Obviously, McKenzie brings a Aussie rules football, rugby style punting ability, but if you just ask him to punt in a traditional style, he's blasting him. I did some hand timing there at Camp T, and he's pushing 5 in some cases exceeding 5 seconds there. So ASU, I think overall, special teams has been was a target last year. From what we've seen, I think it's going to be a lot better in 25.
I can only imagine that trauma will guide the emotions of Sun Devil fans, especially in the early stretch of the season when the punt or kick teams roll out. There might be some accelerated heartbeats or here we go again kind of thing. But Sun Devil fans, you might be in for some positivity. Again, Gomez is a proven kicker. He should have a great season. You can say that confidently based on what he's done so far in practice at ASU and through his career at Eastern Michigan. And to hear that the punters are improving is quite a positive news as well, which is something that can kind of be expected. Kenyon Floyd was a true freshman. Had a good year, not great, not bad, just a good year last year. But he was a true freshman. And anybody that's a true freshman playing at all, there's always room for improvement. You're always just playing around with your hair on fire and trying to learn on the job there. Now that you get another full off season under your belt and be able to review what you did last year, where you can improve. That could open the door for ASU, for Floyd's second year to be something good at ASU.
All right, so that's the rundown of what happened in week 2. So, if I were to say 5 winners of week 2, I'd say Boogie Wilson, Jaren Hamilton, Justin Watley, Isaiah Iosefa, Kyson Brown, I think are, a solid group. But, there's a lot of positivity and, one position battle that perhaps we didn't expect at the top. So we'll certainly be tracking that. But before we close out our episode today, let's talk to a couple of those Sun Devils. We're having really good camps, starting off with wide receiver Jaren Hamilton. All right, so big performance there at the end of the Camp T scrimmage. What was it like as, kind of the defense maybe controlling a little bit for most of the day, but you guys were able to get in that 2-minute drill and really kind of break out at the end?
I'd say really just sticking to it. It's a lot of stuff we still got to go out there and work on. So regardless of what's going on throughout the day, we still stick to our script and, we just do what we do.
What's some of the things that maybe change when you guys go into a 2-minute situation that perhaps maybe allows for a little bit more of a flow?
I would just say our confidence. Just our confidence that we know we can make these plays. Our confidence that, people going to block and we all just do our job. So that is starting up front, the O-line blocking and just trusting, like our wide outs and tight ends to just go down there and make a play.
Kenny mentioned that, since spring, you've really felt more comfortable just being yourself. That's really been able to translate to on-the-field success. What's it been like that, that has allowed that comfort level to grow over the last couple months?
Just being around the facility, being around the guys, talking with the coaching staff, going through things not just once but twice, even 3 times. Anything you have to do to get comfortable and overlearn something, that's what I've been doing. You know, getting on the whiteboard, just talking through plays, walking through stuff. All that has allowed me just to go out there and play faster.
Obviously, you guys are going against a pretty good defense day in and day out. What's it like just going against this group of defensive backs, and how that helps kind of raise your own game?
It's great. You love to go out there and compete. You know, iron sharpens iron, and when we go out there, we know it's not going to be easy, and we don't expect them to give us none. And that's just how it's going to be. Like in the season, we don't expect the defense just to lay down. So when we go out there and work, it's just making all us better at the end of the day.
So when you look back at the Camp T experience, what are some of your favorite memories? Your first time up in the Pines.
Honestly, going to the waterfall and seeing like just how peaceful it was out there, like just being in nature, not around society. Being out there really was just like relaxing, and you know, it just helped clear your mind and get away from everything.
What was it like seeing about like 4,000 ASU fans and make the trek to the middle of nowhere to watch you guys play?
Oh yeah, I loved it. You know, people coming out supporting us, that's always a good thing. Just seeing them, it just brings the best out of all of us. Like when I see the fans get hyped, they get into it. If like we feed off of that, you know, we just go out there and perform.
A couple weeks left before the opener. What are some of the things you feel this offense needs to get accomplished to make sure you guys feel ready to go against NAU?
I can feel like any offense can always be closer. We can find more glue within each other, and that just comes from, you know, coming out here, working hard every day, trusting and believing in one another. And through that, I feel like we can all gel and be closer and just get to our goals.
All right, so you've been making a lot of loud plays in fall camp, some big hits. What's your favorite part of like delivering a big hit on a ball carrier?
Honestly, just making the play, to be honest. Can't ask for a better play call from the coaches. Can't ask for my teammates to do anything but their job. And once it comes my opportunity to make a play, just like everybody else, I'll do it.
How do you feel like the linebacker group as a whole has been progressing through fall camp?
They've been doing real good. Also the vets doing a real good job, just staying on top of and getting better at things that we know we got to fix. And the younger guys for really learning from us and taking a step forward instead of staying back, away from everybody.
Coach Ward often says that year 2 in the defense is like when the players kind of understand the why. Top 3 guys in that room with kind of in your second year in this system. Have you seen kind of a greater comfort and kind of understanding the why as opposed to the kind of year 1?
Yeah, for sure. Last year was all about kind of learning and fighting my footing. And this year, I know what I'm supposed to do, like the back of my hand. So I feel a lot more comfortable, just like every other player does in this defense, and I feel a lot better this year too than I did last year.
So when you look back at the spring practices, when you look, what were some things that you kind of took away from your performance in spring that you were like wanted to focus on in the off season to get ready for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I just got to keep doing the little things better. I still got to fix my run fits. I still got to get better at tackling. I still got a lot of things to fix, but that's the good thing about practice is I can come over here and practice those things. So.
And of course, second time at Camp T, what were some of your favorite experiences now that you got to, experience the camp, the brotherhood, the bonding, and everything in the Pines?
Yeah, it's beautiful out there, just to get away from our phones for the most part and just to be with each other and to find comfort in each other's presences, It's beautiful to just really enjoy outdoors. Everyday life, we're out here just on our phones and we go home and just scroll on Instagram and TikTok, but for us to go over there and actually just hang out with each other 24/7, it was amazing to see.
So of course, you guys are going up against a pretty talented offense day in, day out, and kind of what is that kind of like iron sharpens iron, like for you guys with both sides of the ball facing off against a pretty formidable opponent?
It's actually really good. You need that. It's just like when you're sparring, when you're boxing. The better fighter you have, the more you see better moves, the quicker you see it. And so it's just like that in football. We see a really good opponent, and it's like if we see the best offense every day, day in and day out, it's going to be better for us when we play other offenses.
So of course, the top 3 guys in that linebacker room, all veterans. But who are some of the younger guys, some younger backers that have really kind of impressed you so far?
I wouldn't say it's just us top 3 because I really say the whole group is doing real good. All the young guys. Isaiah's make big steps forward from spring ball. And it's good to see Bacon and Puka making their trips up, taking steps forward. Prayer's doing real good, and us older guys, we're just doing our thing.
As one of those vets, what are some of the things that you've maybe seen yourself in kind of a leadership role and kind of being the veteran to pass on the wisdom?
Yeah, it's really just to the young guys, because we got more vets than we do young guys. And, So I mean, whenever they need help, I'm gonna give it. Whenever they're struggling with something, I'll give them what I know. And for us vets, it's just we're all older, so it's like what I'm saying, like we know what's supposed to happen, and we hold each other accountable. Our coach doesn't have to do it too much this year as he usually does, as he did last year. So it's just good to be part of a vet group.
Of course, you guys have a pretty cool nickname as the Werewolves.
Yeah.
What does being a werewolf mean to you?
Yeah, werewolf what being a werewolf means to me is really just learning how to not say flip a switch, because we're always ready, but I'll say, Coach Coop preaches all the time, you got to be a great person off the field. And that's one of our team mottos, is being a good person off the field. And when you get on that field, they better see a whole different side of you. They better see not so nice person. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I really just think it's being a great person off the field, being a gentleman, going on the field, and being a psychopath.
What do you want to show this, as the group of linebackers? What do you guys want to accomplish over these next couple of weeks to make sure you're ready to go against NAU to start the season?
Really just being our best versions of ourselves, because us being our best version will help the defense out. If we make the right calls 24/7, if we make the right moves 24/7, our D-line will do what they do, and they're doing a great job, and our back end will just cover us like they usually do.
It's a new season of Sun Devil football. It's a new year, new us kind of thing here at the Speak of the Devils. We are thrilled to announce that we have yet another incredible sponsor to add to the group that we're partnering up here with Speak of the Devils. Nice Pest company. I'm sure that you've heard of them. ASU alumni owned and operated. We're going to learn about them. We're going to learn about our guy. I know that the guy that I'm about to introduce, a lot of y'all already know him. My man, Tyler Sublet. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Excited to be here.
So we're going to talk a little business, a little ball. If you know Tyler, die-hard Sun Devil like us all, he could probably take over this show and not skip a beat. So before we get to business here, let's get to know you a little bit. As we know, everybody goes to ASU games. Every Saturday you see that Sun Devil story, right? The
Sure.
origin story about how people became Sun Devils and Sun Devil fans. So give us your Sun Devil story. How did you become a Sun Devil?
I've got a really good Sun Devil story. It's not really my origin story, but
okay.
I'll tell you that. But I mean, I've been a season ticket holder since I was a student at ASU. Graduated in 2007. Really fun times, kind of really got into it during the Andrew Walter, Chad Christensen days. I went to high school with Chad Christensen, so it was kind of fun, to see him on the sidelines, on the field a little bit, and then Walter just exploded. And a lot of people go back to the Rose Bowl days. I was kind of newer in Arizona at that point. I've obviously know a ton about it, the glory days, and talking to those guys and seeing Jake Plummer and his rise. I mean, there's just so many things to think about that really led me to be a diehard. But it was really those days as a student going to games, wandering through the student section back when it was on the west side, kind of where, on the bleachers. I remember friggin' watching the Miller brothers laying out for balls, and I just so much fun. And then it's truly just become a family deal for me. Had season tickets with my father-in-law in the upper deck, back when the upper deck was still up there in the north end. Great view up there. And then, moved down a little bit a few years later, then had kids. And when the Santan Club was built, man, had to buy in there just because the AC is a lifesaver when you have kids. and that place is great. So we love it. We're right on the south end zone at every game, every home game. Try to get to at least one away game a year if I can. Like I said, young kids make it a little tough, but you can catch me in the Santan Club every single week. We have a home game. Don't miss them. We out as early as we can. And shout out to Graham Rossini for, kind of extending those tailgate hours, because we enjoy it. So I'm out there with the Crafty Devils. Shout out to PJ and Adam. And, we do it right out there. So like I said, it's a whole family deal. But long story short, my quick little Sun Devil story is my daughter was actually born on the day of the Jail Mary.
Wow.
Her birthday is October 4th, 2014.
Huh.
And I was actually born in Los Angeles. I'm never an SC fan. I won't claim that. But born in Los Angeles, have a lot of family and friends that are SC fans, were SC fans. And so daughter's born. She's actually born at 5:42 in the morning. So that was the first sign. It was going to be a glorious day.
You got the 42 in it, man. Can't go wrong.
Got the 42. 5:42 a.m. Best day of my life already. First kid. Just amazing. She was healthy, happy. Everything's good. We're chilling in the hospital, and we're watching the game. And obviously, we get down to the fourth quarter. Just unbelievable. Cameron Smith with an unbelievable catch and run, and just everything that was leading up to that. And watching the Hail Mary in the hospital was like my heart stopped that day, right? Just like everybody. But I jumped up.
You're in the right environment for it, man. With the heart stopping, they can just bring you back in if you're in the hospital.
Yes and no. So okay. I jumped up and I'm like, yeah, baby. I run into the bathroom. We're in a tiny little hospital room. I'm like stomping around, but I'm like trying to be quiet. You can't scream baby in a hospital. And the next thing I know, the sirens are going off. The nurse is running in. They thought somebody was trying to steal a baby. I was like, no, the Sun Devils just won. So
they just stole the win, yeah.
I almost got kicked out of the hospital on the day of my daughter's birth because of the Hail Mary. But honestly, my wedding day, the birth of my two children, but like that was like some icing on the cake there. That was an incredible day. So that's my Sun Devil story.
Speaking of origin stories, about a year ago, Nice Pest Company was started by with you as one of the co-owners. Yep. How did the business come to be?
So another interesting story. So we started in August of last year. I am a co-owner of the business. I own it with Travis Bottoms, who is also a diehard Sun Devil fan. So came to be, actually, he was my bug guy. And I just really liked how he went about his business. So like he owned a previous company. It was a synonym of our name. I'm not going to mention it, but he just went about his day with a smile on his face. And the way that he went about his business was commendable. And he's also kind of an outlier. He's been in the pest control industry for about 13 years and worked for some of the big boys, some of the names you would know. Ran a couple companies and then owned this previous company. And I love the way he went about his business. I love the way he went to market. He goes to market a little bit differently. And I think anybody that has had experience with us, the first thing we did was went and started this NIL deal. Like it was a dream of mine. Like if I can support the community, grow my business and help Sun Devils keep their homes bug free. Like I don't know that there's a whole lot of other pest control companies out there doing NIL deals. So that's kind of how he went to market and built his previous company, moved at that point. We had discussed like, hey man, I just love the way you go to business. If you ever start something new, I'd love to invest in you or partner up with you any way that I can. He decided to exit that last partnership and said, hey, I'm exiting this partnership. I would love to partner with you. And the rest is history. So I am not a bug guy by trade. I'm a sales guy. I'm a relationships guy. I love setting up this NIL deal. I love building the relationships. Travis is a true bug nerd, and so he knows everything there is to know about pest control. And so we make a great team. He is really good with marketing and sales as well. And so he and I teamed up and we're about to hit our 1-year anniversary, and it's been pretty incredible. We've grown like crazy over the first year and just hoping to do more here in the Valley, support Sun Devils, keep our boys home. I mean, it's so exciting that we retain so much of the coaching staff, that we retain so much of the roster. And, I'm not going to, it definitely, our support is a drop in the bucket, but we want to do our part any way that we can. And that's kind of always been my focus with Sun Devil Athletics, really. It goes back a lot further than just with Nice Pest Company. A buddy of mine and I, Brian Irby, we started an organization called the Devil's Brigade and just raised funds. It was actually back when Coach Graham was hired. Raised funds however we could. It wasn't much, but we gave some back. That eventually kind of morphed into what was called the Sun Devil Club Young Professionals. So raised some money in that organization towards the end of
my polo shirt. I
Woo!
rock it still to this
Yeah.
day. I don't know if I qualify as a young professional anymore, but I'll take it.
I don't either, man. I don't either. I wouldn't qualify anymore. But it was, I mean, those are the types of things that I'm passionate about, you know, and it's always been about ASU. I hate to say the sleeping giant analogy. It drives me crazy, but it's like we're waking up, man. We're waking up, but I have always thought that it's got to start somewhere. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Win on the field or have fan support? And fan support is now coming tenfold, right? Because we've had some success on the field. We hired the right coach. We've got a great AD, but we were able to keep those kids here this year, and it's going to benefit us going forward. So that's my story.
So for our viewers and listeners who might not be familiar with the services you offer in the areas you service clients, tell them what Nice Pest Company can do for them and what separates your business from the other pest companies across the valley.
Absolutely, man. And I appreciate it. And honestly, I you know, Joe knows I want to talk more ball than business here, but I love to be a part of the podcast. And again, every dollar. So I'll tell you a little bit about the NIL deal as well. But so we're your full service pest control business. You know, we scorpions, spiders, roaches, crickets, literally any household bugs, mosquitoes, rodents, any pests you would have around your house, termites. Those are all things that we can handle. What makes us different is just the way we go about our business. Again, I don't think that there's a whole lot of other companies out there doing an NIL deal. We're very like social media driven. We do a lot of affiliate marketing. So every single one of our customers actually gets their own personalized link where if they refer business to us and somebody signs up, they can earn referral fees. Now, that plays into the NIL deal a bit. So right now, how we have it set up is if they use our link for the NIL deal, it's posted by Sun Angel. We post it. It's on our Instagram profile. And I believe they'll have access to it through this podcast. Their first service is $42, and 100% of that service goes back to Sun Angel. So giving back, you know, an entire service. And then to go a step further, we've actually partnered with some of the student athletes where they get an additional fee. You know, in the true essence of name, image, and likeness, they've appeared in our videos. They appear on our social media. They repost us, and they get a spiff on top of the $42 that I don't want to call it a spiff. Sorry, it's an NIL. It's a true NIL deal that's been approved through the whole system and everything exactly how it's supposed to be. And they're actually using their name, image, and likeness. So that goes back to them, and then the $42 goes to the Sun Angel collective. So just doing our part. You know, like I said, all our business has really been built on referrals. So to be a part of this community, be part of the Sun Devil community, we want to do everything we can, man. And if that leads to helping us grow our business, you know, so be it. But let's focus on keeping these athletes here and being successful.
So I'm sure there are a lot of businesses that might be hesitant to give toward NIL, especially in their first year, you know, to take that out of their own pocket, put it in somebody else's. But you're making that decision as a company to support Sun Devil Athletics in a very strong way. Why is it so important for you all to be involved in ASU athletics the way they are?
Oh, we're just passionate about it. You know, we love, again, it's, I take my kids to the games. I take my wife to the games. You know, it's just become such a family thing for us. I actually met my wife at ASU. That's a really big deal, obviously. We've been together for a long time. But, you know, I just look at my years at ASU as like so important to me. And, you know, I was a junior college student athlete. I wasn't quite D1, but like, I want to give back to those kids, man. It's important to me to give back, and, you know, it'll come back, you know, in some way, shape, or form, tenfold. But that is the true heart of our business. Is we want to take care of our people, both you know, the people that work with us, work for us, and our customers. We want to take care of some of these young student athletes and make sure that they're getting every opportunity to advance their careers, you know, and a lot of these kids don't have an opportunity, the past of the collectives and then moving forward into the revenue share stuff, like we've kind of lost a little focus on true NIL, name, image, and likeness deals, right? And so we're giving them an opportunity to market themselves and brand themselves using our brand, right? And ASU football, and really kind of market themselves for the next level, whether that is playing in the NFL, playing in the MLB, NBA, whatever that is. But also just kind of having that portfolio of like, look, this is something that I was involved in college, marketing themselves, and something that they could use for their future as well.
So I imagine in this line of work, you've seen some pretty crazy things. Any particular experience kind of stand out as maybe the wildest pest situations that nice pest company has dealt with?
I mean, they're, yeah, I mean, bed bugs. We've been in some bed bug situations where, you go in with a hazmat suit and leave with the hazmat suit and try to burn your first layer of skin off. But, at the end of the day, like, it's a reality. People get bed bugs and nobody wants bed bugs. Nobody is living with bed bugs on purpose and, having a bed bug farm, right? It happens. It's a reality. And for some people it's embarrassing, or, it's a situation where there's also situations where, people can't necessarily afford to treat because it's not an inexpensive treatment. So, we just like to take a lot of care in those situations, a lot of discretion, obviously, and take care of those folks, the same way as we would take care of anybody, right? Right now it's rat breeding season, so there's a lot of rats out there, and they say you see 2, that means there's at least 10 somewhere else in your yard. So there's some nasty situations out there for sure. But that's the thing, is here in Arizona, pests are an issue. It is kind of a necessary evil, if you could say. Everybody needs pest control, because if they have kids or pets or whatever that might be, scorpions are a danger, and pests are a danger. So we really take pride in protecting those people, protecting their families from pests, and have a little fun while we're doing it and give back a little bit while we're doing it. So
I know you want to talk some ball, so let's talk some ball. And I know you to be a certified ball knower, so we're going to reverse the roles a little bit here. My brother, we're only about 2 weeks away from this first game, which is pretty wild to me.
So excited.
What's it going to take for ASU to keep this hot streak going and build off what they did last year? Give us your breakdown of the 2025 season for the Devils.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's stay healthy. I think we've got the right guys in the right positions. We've got depth. Kenny and crew have filled the holes like tremendously. They knew what we needed from the transfer portal. They knew what we needed from high school. We've got some size on the O-line. We've got size and speed on the D-line. So I think it's just staying healthy, staying within ourselves. Again, I've been around since back in the day. And sometimes when we start feeling ourselves, it gets a little scary out there, right? But again, having the coaches in place that we do are so good at keeping these kids humble. And I can tell you from experience, meeting CJ Fight, meeting Justin Watley, interacting with Kyson Brown, on Instagram, and running into Ray Leak in the hallway. Like, these kids are humble and they're hungry. And I think it's literally like, show up every week, stay healthy, and we're going to do something special. I think the running back room is going to surprise people, because they think without Cam, we're hurting, on the national scale, right? I think Kyson and Kanye and Raleek, they're going to surprise some people. And then the receiver room looks like it just got stronger, with some of the transfer guys we got in. And so Sam, again, I don't think, I think he's very comfortable. I think the hardest person on Sam is Sam. So I think he's going to have a great year. And again, keep Jordan Tyson healthy, keep Sam healthy. Running back room shows out. Keep our defensive line healthy. Let me tell you, the NIL deal the first group of student athletes we work with, I already mentioned CJ and Justin, wonderful human beings, first and foremost, but incredibly important to the team. I mean, unsung heroes. I Travis and I laugh about it. We last year, I'm like, dude, I mean, Watley getting kicked out of the game for the phantom spit incident, which didn't happen, but that hurt. He was kind of an unsung hero that was a huge run stopper on that defensive line last year that didn't really you didn't hear his name called that often, right? But I think we're going to see this year he slimmed down a little bit, and he's hungry. So it's going to be fun to watch him. CJ, Clayton Smith. I mean, the whole defense is going to be insane because they're that much more comfortable in that defense, and it's going to be fun to watch.
So with that number 11 ranking that ASU got, were you thinking they'd be higher, thinking they'd be lower? Are you in the crowd that just doesn't want ASU to be ranked because bad things happen in those circumstances?
Stop it, Joe. Stop it. Come on.
I didn't think so. I gotta ask the hard question.
Yeah. Yeah. No, trust me. Again, I've been around long enough that it's like, don't believe the hype, but I think that we have the right people in the right positions. Kenny will not let those guys get cocky. He will not. 11's great. Listen, the fact that I saw and they might be silly burner accounts, but I saw probably 25 reposts on Instagram from college football national accounts that are all of a sudden figured out what Camp T is and how beautiful it is. And oh my God, look at this haven. And it's like, no, we've been going there for years, taking a few breaks, but yeah, this is a great place to be. So the more pub, the better in my mind. I mean, 11's great. We're not top 10, but we will be soon. I think it's like week 2 or week 4. I don't know. There's a lot of ranked matchups going on. So
opening weekend, there are 3 games with top 10 teams in all of them. So
yeah. So
that might work out naturally.
It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun. So no, rank away. Just Kenny, do your thing. You keep the boys humble and hungry. That's all that matters.
So as you talked about, and the NIL landscape is changing, evolving, and so you did a great job of explaining how you guys are handling things now. Where do you think NIL is going to be going here in the future, and where do you see Nice Pest Company, kind of going along with that ride?
Honestly, there's just so much up in the air still with the revenue share stuff. So I think it's going to go to more of a true NIL. There's going to have to be some guardrails in place on, hey, they're not just cutting these guys checks to cut them checks. They're being paid by the university or however the revenue share shakes out, right? Whoever's cutting the check at the end of the day. But then there's still going to be NIL deals where the athletes have to be providing some form of benefit to the business in name, image, and likeness, or appearing in videos or commercials or whatever that might be. I think at the end of the season last year, you saw Scat had some really great deals. My boys James and Dustin over at Lifted Trucks, they got him on a good commercial, and he had some really good deals there that were using his likeness to benefit the business. And I think so it might take a step back from the amount of dollars for NIL, but I've done this a lot tonight. The amount of dollars for NIL, but I think it's going to be more true to what NIL deals were supposed to be. As far as how we're gonna continue to be involved any way that we can. I would love to. We've got some really good ideas. So we actually service all the coaches' homes as part of our NIL deal. So get to see Kenny every once in a while. Get to see Marcus Arroyo, Saga, Coach Iguano. So they've been awesome. Coach Amy. We actually signed up Coach Trenton Bourget as soon as he was added to the coaching staff. I'm like, oh, you're on the coaching staff now. We service your house for free. He's like, cool, come check it out. So a really cool opportunity for us there, but we've got some really good ideas for content that will with both the student athletes. Think maybe, Jackass back in the day where, they put on some pads and fielded a punt and let a real football player tackle them. And then possibly some breaking down pest control film with Coach Kenny is one of our ideas as well. So
are you going to play the Johnny Knoxville role on that punt return or what?
So I don't know if you saw the video with CJ and Justin, but we let them tackle us full speed. We were in cockroach costumes, and I got tackled by CJ. One of our technicians got tackled by Justin, and then my business partner had the fortuitous opportunity to get tackled by both of them at the end of it. And we were like literally throwing my son's mattress on the ground and letting them tackle us. And like we were like, no, go hard. So no pads, obviously, and they were very kind to us. But we definitely got tackled. But I imagine you throw those pads on, and it's a whole other level of. I could tell you, we saw the excitement in CJ's eyes when he got to tackle Travis. Justin was kind of holding him up, and we have still shots. I'm gonna post them soon of the moment they made impact with Travis. You could see his face, his eyes are bulging out of his head. And then you look back and CJ has just got the biggest grin on his face you've ever seen. So those boys enjoy hitting people. So I can imagine it. I'll probably have to bite the bullet and put the pads on, but we'll see what happens.
So we got one more question for you. It's a business question. It's a real important one. I'm sure that all of our viewers and listeners are really going to be interested in this. 12 months out of the year, but especially when we get closer to November, do you offer any sort of wildcat removal, eradication services that Sun Devil fans can participate in?
Oh, they just disgust me. It's just I'd rather deal with bed bugs, but we will remove your wildcats for you anytime.
That might have to be maybe another thing to add to the
for sure.
Advertisement list. We can help you out with that one. I got a little bit of a known history in that level.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, my man. Well, before we let you go, tell everybody out there how they can connect with Nice Pest Company and how they can take advantage of the awesome services and opportunities that you'll offer.
Absolutely. You check out our website, www.nicepest.com. Really, the most up-to-date stuff is on Instagram. So we're Nice Pest Company on Instagram. Check out some of our goofy content. We like to make people laugh. So you're not following us to learn about bugs. You're going to see some goofy, fun content and keep it light. But those are the best two ways really to find out what we can do. And we'll be, we have the link for the Sun Angel NIL deal. So if anybody listening is interested, hit that link so that we can make sure we give back the first $42.
Well, Tyler, my man, really appreciate you joining us tonight. And by all means, really, really grateful for the partnership that we've got going here. I've known you for a long time. Awesome to have this thing going. Folks listening out there, you're going to be hearing a lot about them moving forward. And as always, we encourage you to support the Sun Devil community, support those who support you, just like Tyler and his company's doing.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate you guys and appreciate the partnership. Looking forward to moving forward with this.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Speak of the Devils. Football is almost here, so make sure you're following us on the social media side. Follow us on Twitter at SOTD Podcast, on Instagram at Speak of the Devils. Subscribe on YouTube. Our page there is growing rapidly, and make sure you are also following us on the old Facebook.com/SOTD Podcast. Give me a follow on all things social at BDowney29.
And you can follow me at Joe Healy42. Get used to us, folks. You're going to be seeing us weekly. In your ears, with your eyes on TV, the YouTube, however you listen to podcasts. Get your fill. The season is here. We're coming at you every single week. Got to give a huge thank you to our sponsors as we turn the page. We're so thrilled and fortunate to continue these partnerships into a new season here with Speak of the Devils. Of course, you just heard from Nice Pest Company. You're going to be hearing a lot more about them. Really encourage you to check them out if you need those type of services. And if you got a house in the state of Arizona, then you need their services. So support the ones who support Sun Devils. Obviously, of course, thank you to Cactus Sports, Jones Auto Group, Burrito Express, DevilsDigest.com, and Sun Devil Family Charities.
And once you're done supporting our amazing lineup of sponsors, make sure to drop us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice. Joe and I will be back along with a couple of special guests next week for the annual season preview and predictions roundtable.